So today, ladies and gentlemen, we have fished out a clip, multiple clips actually, of Chris Larsen, who is one of the founding members of what was initially Altcoin and then became Ripple, and have thus spawned XRP. I'm actually talking about how XRP is going to use and utilize ISO 20022 standards, which are on the cusp of being adopted. We're going to start there, perhaps. We're going to look at where ISO 20022 is, a little bit more about what it is. We'll also be playing a clip from an individual from Swift talking about why she's excited about all this. And then we'll go all the way back to 2017 and look at what Chris Larsen presented in regards to how Ripple works and how it uses ISO 20022 nearly 9 years ago. This is something that will all of a sudden get adopted very quickly, but has been in the works for a long time. And I have never been more convinced in my career that actually the crazy XRP people were right. And often crazy people in what is a crazy world, the normal in my opinion, normal people are crazy in my opinion. Often crazy people are very right. And I think those crazy XRP people, not all of them, but a lot of them, at least were on the scent of what's been a plan that's been waiting to be sprung for a long time. And we're at that kind of point, if you will, of it all happening. So this is going to be an interesting one. We are going to play that clip. We'll also let Chris sort of break it down as he so brilliantly does. Chris Larsen, one of my favorite people in the cryptocurrency space. As far as intelligence is concerned, of course, he initially started with Arthur Brito, Jeb McCaleb, and of course himself, Chris, Altcoin, which was backed by the likes of Peter Thiel, and there's the PayPal mafia all over this technology. But let's start things off. So ISO 20022 is a standard that's going to be adopted by most major financial institutions. In fact, just yesterday, the Federal Reserve announced that their implementation of ISO 20022 is going to take place on the 14th of July this year. Swift, the kind of leading remittance provider of the world, which is going to utilize XRP and other DLT technologies, is essentially they have given a deadline of November 2025. As the financial sector rapidly approaches the November 2025 CBPR Plus deadline, adopting the ISO 20022 global payment standards has never been more essential, with industries moving forwards. Now, time to act. ISO is essentially a standard that's going to be adopted that is going to enable the cryptocurrency space to merge with the traditional financial world under this standard, and essentially allow them to interoperate and allow, more importantly or as equally important, financial institutions to leverage this technology to fundamentally change how the financial world works and to bring us into that internet age for finance. We're still in that fax age as far as finance is concerned. And we found a clip of 2017 when Chris Larsen at Berkeley Haas gave a demonstration or a presentation on why Ripple and what XRP is doing is so revolutionary. Them actually specifically talking about the integration and the usage of ISO 20022, which we literally have months until we're there. We also have what's been set out by Senator Scott till the end of September to essentially have a clear legislative framework for the crypto space. The Genius Act, of course, is basically done. It just needs to be signed. Now the Clarity Act. You've got the deadline for Swift, and you've got really the embrace of this technology all coming to a head. And actually XRP through Ripple really has been working and positioning itself to be the main kind of, I believe, beneficiary of, at least initially, banks utilizing crypto. So those crazy XRP people, I do believe, were right. We're at a stage now where that clock is really ticking in regards to how far we've progressed with the sort of deadline. The adoption rate of ISO 20022 at Swift continues to rise slowly, just a few months before the end of MT-MX coexistence. Only 30% have already switched over. More to come like the Fed. Everyone's going to adopt this standard. And this standard, as I'm about to show you, is really all about allowing messaging through, allowing messaging to take place on more of a broad scope, more of a dense scope, and actually allows DLT technology to be used and implemented in the kind of Swift messaging system, which is the dominant system as far as remittances are concerned right now. So what we're going to do is play a very quick clip from an individual from Swift, and then we're going to follow on with what Chris Larsen has to say. And remember, this is nearly 9 years old, this video. They've known this was coming, and we're at that moment now for a long time, and they've positioned for it. So let's play what this individual has to say about the what she's excited about in regards to ISO 20022 format.
In addition to being able to provide a better end-to-end client experience, frictionless payments also help Swift member banks be more efficient as a community, minimizing costly exceptions and investigations, enabling us to better compete from a cost perspective with new entrants and closed-loop networks, enabling member banks to leverage global open network that is Swift's strength with a more controlled payment orchestration capability backed by the rich structured data of ISO 20022 format opens up further opportunities for us banks to provide value-added products and services to our clients. But Tanya, I think, though, what excites me the very most of all, and what I see as the biggest new opportunity for the industry related to Swift's new platform is the potential for integration with a variety of networks, rails, and third parties leveraging the rich ISO 20022 format and the transaction orchestration of the new platform to manage that interoperability, as well as rules of engagement with these rails and networks via a single central framework that provides transparency to manage that end-to-end experience regardless of settlement rail, be it real-time, faster, instant payment rails, be it real-time gross settlement rails, be it card rails, even e-wallet or digital currency networks. So that is what I find the most exciting about the possibilities that this network, that this new platform has.
It's way too coincidental how all of this is literally coming to a head now. ISO standards, legal clarity within the United States, banks all getting ready to embrace this technology on the back end of it, retailers, and the likes of XRP, Ripple, XLM, some of the others out there have known this for a long time, positioned for it, and are at this point where they're about to be unleashed. And of course, I have technical, i.e. the charts, all predicting some significant upside for the crypto space as a whole, certainly XRP and XLM, which are two of my favorites. Let's now go 9 years back and look at what Chris Larsen demoed. We'll look at him explaining it in a little bit more detail and specifically focus on where they talk about ISO 2002 standards 9 years ago, and we're at that point where they're now about to be adopted by all financial institutions. Let's dive into this.
How Ripple works. Let's look at the inner workings of Ripple's solution and how it improves cross-border payments. In this example, two banks use a correspondent bank to route their payments. The Ripple solution includes Ripple Connect, which is used to coordinate information exchange between the banks. And the ILP ledger uses the interledger protocol to coordinate funds movement between institutions to settle the payment. The solution ingests existing message formats like SwiftFin or ISO 20022 through a translation layer such as CGI's Intelligent Gateway or Volante's Volpay. Let's follow one payment through the entire payment flow. First, the translation layer parses the message and collects necessary information to initiate the payment. Here you see that Alice in the US wants to send money to Bob in Germany. She wants Bob to receive 500 euros. Ripple Connect communicates with the correspondent and beneficiary banks to obtain their payment processing fees and total cost. Next, pre-transaction validation takes place. This includes compliance screening and account verification checks. Since all banks have the necessary facts, they can pre-validate the payment even before funds move to ensure high straight-through processing rates. Now it's time to coordinate funds flow across the private ILP ledgers of these three different institutions. In this example, the originating bank has a Nostro account with the correspondent bank, and the beneficiary bank is using a third-party liquidity provider to connect in with the correspondent bank. To begin the settlement process, Ripple coordinates a hold on the funds across all three ledgers. The ILP ledgers generate cryptographic signatures to verify that the funds are committed to the transaction. Then, the funds are simultaneously released across the three ledgers. This process ensures no settlement risk. The payment either executes or fails. Upon completion, Ripple provides a confirmation message to all counterparties. The entire payment process across multiple banks takes seconds and provides end-to-end visibility into the transaction while increasing processing rates and lowering operational costs. Join the global real-time settlement network today.
That was a demonstration that was done nearly 9 years ago. talks specifically about using ISO 20022 standards, which are about to be adopted by all financial institutions around the world. See the Fed getting on board with it. I have never been so confident that DLTs like XRP, and we'll specifically focus on XRP for this video, are going to be literally used by most major financial institutions in tomorrow's world. And XRP is a key component of all of that. And what happens when that demand is unleashed? And they've been gearing up for this moment for a hell of a long time. I've never been so certain that this is going to happen. What I want to do now is just let Chris Larsen sort of explain that a little bit more. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap the video up. But an interesting one. We're going to bring you lots more videos like this. You guys always ask for them. There's so much in terms of old content that I can sort of go over that's very telling and almost prophetic in regards to how accurate it was 9 years ago compared to where we are today. And we're at that turning point, if you will. Let's dive into Chris Larsen explaining this.
Going on there. One of the big changes that's going to occur with this Internet of Value is that value transfer across networks is going to move from being a sequential process like it is today, which is a huge problem, to becoming more of a coordinated, synchronized process. So a sequential process is just that. You know, we've probably all seen this when you're trying to send money overseas from your bank. You know it's left your bank account, but you're calling your recipient and it's like days go by and they don't have it. Like, where is it? Well, your bank probably doesn't even know because it's gone from their ledger or their network to some intermediate ledger to some other intermediate ledger that they may not even know about. And this could be literally, 4 or 5 hops. And so why is that a problem? Obviously, that's a huge time delay. Time is money. More importantly, though, that is settlement risk. So there are too many states that can happen there. It could either go, it could not go, or it could be somewhere stuck in the middle. That is a huge, huge problem. So that settlement risk is really what drives up costs. And then that makes small payments that you might need from the underbanked or from devices or just from everybody unprofitable and not possible. What we change then is we turn that into a coordinated, synchronized approach so that no matter how many hops are involved, no matter how many nodes have to be hit, they're all cryptographically being verified at the same time. So there is no settlement risk. There's only 2 states that can happen in that kind of a model. It's called an atomic transaction. It either goes or it doesn't go.
And that is literally what ISO 2002 standards are about. I've never been so confident in everything that I'm saying. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Remember, none of this is financial advice. On that note, I'm going to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.